Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We have a great show for you tonight. We have the illustrious Dr. Philip Levesque here this evening, the most dangerous man in Oregon. And Casper Leach is here to help co-host, or joint host as he likes to say. And over in the wings we have John Cornett and Jan Sue Hurst. They'll be doing a couple of great songs here in just a few minutes. We have some film clips. We have a great interview that Casper did 21 years ago with Dr. Todd McArea. We'll be running about 9 minutes of that halfway through the show. Willie Nelson will be making a quick appearance. But first, we'll bring out our infamous dancing Cannabis Leaves.
I feel the force.
All right, here's John Cornett and Jan Sue with Now is the Time.
Now is the time. The time is now. To tell the truth, to tell the truth, to tell the truth, to tell the truth. To hear the truth, hear the truth. To hear the truth, hear the truth. To know the truth. To know the truth. Oppressive lies and fantasies isn't how it has to be. And ignorance throwing stones like so many brainless clones. Sound the alarm, re-educate, re-educate. Sound the alarm, investigate, investigate. Now is the time for the truth. Whoa, whoa. Now is the time. Time is now. To speak the truth, speak the truth, speak the truth, speak the truth. To seek the truth, seek the truth, seek the truth, seek the truth. Be the truth. Corporations, governments are rarely ever innocent. Dissension is the only way and live to see another day. Sound the alarm, investigate, investigate. Sound the alarm, re-educate, re-educate. Now is the time for the truth. Now is the time. Whoa, whoa.
right. Thank you, John. Jansu. That was a great version of that song. Welcome to the show, Doctor. It's good to have you back.
Well, it's great to be here, and
Jasper?
I must have had at least 2,000 marijuana patients in Multnomah County, and any of you are out there in the audience, call in and say howdy. How about that?
That works. If you have a question or comment for any of us this evening, call us at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. We'll be taking your calls right up to the top of the hour. So we are pretty excited because right now we've got our petition drive up over 110,000 signatures. We need 87,213 valid registered Oregon voter signatures to put our initiative on the ballot. Our initiative is the Oregon Cannabis Tax Act. It will legalize adult use, possession, and cultivation for personal use, and legalize industrial hemp with no license fee nor registration. If you want to sell it, however, you'll have to get a license and work through a series of regulations that we designed specifically so they'd be upheld in federal court. And so to find out more about our initiative, you can go to our website at www.cannabistaxact.org. That's cannabistaxact.org. I know, Dr. Levesque, you and I were chief petitioners on a very similar measure back in the 90s, in the late 90s.
Well, yeah, that's about.
And that's the last time we tried to put it forward.
About 97, 98, something like
that.
Yep,
97 and 98.
And I think when we first started this program, didn't we call it Ask Dr. Levesque for a while?
We had a couple of shows that were called Ask Dr. Levesque. We had started Cannabis Common Sense before that, but we produced a couple of Ask Dr. Levesque, and then we started a Ask Dr. Levesque segment, and then you just came in and co-hosted there from about this show, I believe, is number 638 since 1995.
Something like that, yeah.
And so you came on at about show number 80 and continued to co-host all the way through about show number 300 or so.
And when I was on this Ask Dr. Levesque, we used to get at least 20 phone calls a night for this business, and people would ask, do you really mean that I can get a permit to smoke marijuana? Yes, absolutely.
And we actually started seeing patients at first right here in the studio.
That's true.
Right here in this studio, and now it's developed into a business where we've helped over 100,000 people across 10 different states.
I thought it was over 150.
It's about that.
About that, yeah.
Let's be conservative here. So if you or a loved one have one of those conditions, whether it be chronic pain, chronic and severe nausea, spasms, seizures, AIDS, cancer, the inability to eat, or any of the related conditions such as gastrointestinal ailments or neurodegenerative diseases, we have physicians all across America who can help you get a medical marijuana permit. Just call us at 1-800-723-0188. That's 1-800-723-0188. If you're here in the Portland area, you can call us local at 503-235-4606. In fact, that's also the number to call if you're interested in getting involved in our petition drive. We are we're hiring petitioners starting at $10 an hour, and you get bonuses if you get lots of signatures. And so if you are looking for a job, or you know someone who's looking for a job and they like to walk a lot and talk a lot, and it's a temporary job till we've got to get all our signatures in by the 5th of July, and we have to turn them in by the 6th of July. So at this point, we're gathering about 10,000 new signatures a week. If we stay on that target, we really hope to raise it. We should raise about 170,000 signatures. We're really shooting for at least that many just to ensure qualification. So right now we're at about 110,000. We need 87,213 valid registered Oregon voter signatures. So we're on target.
Very good.
Moving right along.
I got to add something to this, though.
Please do.
There are approximately 60 medical conditions for which you can get a permit, according to Granny Storm Crow's list. Actually, I figured out I had about 1,000 PTSD patients too, and you're not supposed to be able to get a permit for that, but they also had physical injuries which allowed them to get a permit. So I had approximately 400 Vietnam veterans, and I went through my records, and I figured out that I had almost 1,000 PTSD victims from World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam War.
And you were a World War II combat soldier.
That is.
We always like to mention that when you come on the show. I know you had crossed the Rhine under fire and lost half your company while you were crossing the Rhine.
We lost 150 men in less than an hour.
Out of how many?
In my battalion, but there was just a few companies that lost that many. But actually, they lost their key men, and they were destroyed for combat purposes after that. But really, I say that was my worst day when I was in the war. My best day, I captured 26 German officers by myself.
It's a good thing they didn't want to fight back.
It was a damn good thing that they didn't want to. But that I didn't know at the time. Ordinarily, situation like that, when you see something like this, and I knew that there was a whole bunch of Germans in this building, ordinarily you would throw in a couple of hand grenades.
Oh, yeah.
And shoot them on their way out. I had 2 hand grenades and 8 shots in my rifle, and they would have got me. They would have got me. So you're looking at a very lucky guy here.
Yeah, yeah. So you were in Patton's
army. I am a survivor of General Patton's army, and I'm proud of it.
Did you ever get to meet him in person?
Hell no. He was nowhere I was. I was up
even
in
after
the front.
war, huh? Well, yeah, he was way back there, I guess. Well, if you have
he was back there with Marlene Dietrich is where he was.
I see. Is that what he was doing? Okay, now we know.
They did that back then?
What?
Never mind.
If you have a question or comment for us tonight, call us at 503-288-4448. We're going to run a little film clip here, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Willie Nelson, and I urge you to support the Oregon Cannabis Tax Act to regulate marijuana and restore industrial hemp. This initiative will end adult marijuana prohibition and let our criminal justice officers focus limited resources on real criminals and not on marijuana users like me. OCTA will also allow farmers to grow hemp for fuel, fiber, and food, to create jobs and help our economy. Please support OCTA. Thank you.
That was a real treasure there.
That is indeed. We thank Mr. Willie Nelson for supporting our initiative. We hope you will support our initiative. Just go to that website, octa2012.org. That'll redirect you to cannabistaxact.org. If you're like most people, you don't know how to spell cannabis. And so octa2012.org will get you there as well.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I thought I saw in the news where Willie said that smoking marijuana saved his life.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought it like almost got him arrested, tossed it in jail, and ruined his career.
No, it didn't ruin his career.
Well, how did it save his life? I didn't get a chance to see that.
He was drinking, and he thought the alcohol would have killed him by now.
It would have.
Might have.
At his age,
No
for
doubt.
sure. Nothing personal, Willie. We love you.
We have a caller. Welcome to our show, caller.
How you doing?
Very well. How are you?
Doing great. My question is does cerebral palsy qualify as a condition
Yes. Cerebral palsy causes uncontrollable spasms, dystonic movement, and you can definitely, cannabis will help that. And it's another one of the neurodegenerative diseases. In fact, there's even evidence that cannabis can slow the progression of all major neurodegenerative diseases, including cerebral palsy, multiple sclerosis, ALS. What other ones are there, doctor? There's lots of them.
There's a whole bunch of them, and every one of them is improved with the use of cannabis.
And
every
it
one of them
slows the progression of the disease. So it's an anti-inflammatory, and that's a good thing for antioxidant. So it helps longevity for everybody, but particularly for people with neurodegenerative diseases.
And it makes them feel better in the meantime.
And hungry.
And hungry, yeah, right-o.
All right, I just wanted to, that was my question, say thanks and keep up the good work.
All right, thanks for your call. If you have another question for us tonight, give us a call at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448.
It's not very good for a diet. I try to lose weight, and then I smoke herb, and then it doesn't curb my appetite at all.
No, it stimulates your appetite, and that's bad for me in particular. But there are worse things, I think. So, Dr. Levesque, you've been writing a column for Salem News lately.
For about 4 years, I have 400 stories and 26 videos.
In addition to your book, Dog-Faced Soldier.
Yeah.
And I saw you on PBS again on that show about Oregon World War II veterans.
Oregon at War, yeah. That's been shown probably at least a dozen times in the past 3-4 years.
It was shown just about a month ago again.
That's right, yeah. And somebody the next day says, I saw you on television last night. Who the hell are you?
Yeah, that gets some play.
Yep.
So, Casper, and you're doing your show Time for Hemp?
We are, and we started off a new 6-week series. Every Friday we're focusing on Fukushima and the disaster that occurred there in Japan with the tsunami. It was just horrific to hear on the news the other night how so much debris and trash is washed upon the shores of Alaska that the cleanup crews are nearly in tears trying to clean up the shores there, and they're just befuddled as to what to do. It's so thick with plastics and styrofoams and all kinds of debris. Well, the things that are going through the air and through the water are not able to be seen, but they're still dangerous to Americans and Canadians and everybody in the northern hemisphere. And they have a reactor there that they're trying to cool down, that if they fail keeping it cool will also dump some more contaminants into the air, into the waters, that could actually end up causing the annihilation of a lot of human beings on this planet. So there's a lot of experts who have said that this is one of the most horrific disasters of mankind, and we're focusing on it as to end our
So you'll be doing that on Fridays on your show on the American Freedom Radio Network.
With a happy ending every week, huh?
I hope so.
We're going to die. Happy Friday.
We have another caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hi, my name's Robin.
Hi, Robin. Hi, Robin.
Hey, I have a question about Section 8 housing and medical marijuana cards in Oregon. Because I'm having problems with that right now because I have Section 8 housing and I cannot have a marijuana card even though I have glaucoma.
Mm-hmm. What they don't know won't hurt them.
Well,
won't hurt you.
Yeah, the thing is that some of my neighbors have smelled me, using my medicine, and they know I'm on Section 8, and they're the kind of, this one particular guy, he's the kind of person that he would call in on me, and, I know that if I had it, if they asked me, are you using marijuana, I'd be in violation of my rental agreement, because you're not supposed to use drugs on the premises. And then, so I just wondered,
I know there was a court case where, and this was a few years back, where people on Section 8 housing were protected. I'm not sure why the federal government's decided that they can change that. But you might talk to a local attorney, Philip Liebenbaum, who pioneered some of the protections for Section 8 housing people.
Yeah, because I talked to somebody at the state offices, and they were saying, since Section 8 is federal, and then medical marijuana in Oregon, it's a state thing, and they don't agree on things.
You have a pen and paper?
Yeah.
Okay, write this down. There is a section in the Controlled Substance Act that says state law takes precedence over federal drug laws. So it is 21 U.S.C. 903. I'll repeat that again in just a moment. But Title 21 of the United States Code is the Controlled Substance Act. And at Section 903, it's called Application of State Law. It says that the federal government doesn't intrude into the domain of state drug laws, which takes precedence, and that as long as they're not in positive conflict, then state law takes precedence. So there is a provision in the Controlled Substances Act that says states can regulate controlled substances for medical purposes. And so the citation again is 21 U.S.C. 903, and so in fact state drug laws trump federal drug laws, and that's what it says at 21 U.S.C. 903.
Well, it seems like there might be a few people that are misinformed about that, because when I talk to the state
office,
offices,
people are misinformed about that.
Yeah, and
well, there's a great citation for you. Just call them back up and tell them, well, The United States Controlled Substances Act at 21 Title USC 903 says that state drug laws supersede federal drug laws. So you're wrong.
Okay. Right on. Well, I'm still kind of scared to step up.
I understand. I understand. It's a scary thing.
Just don't add a ha to the end of the sentence.
I'm not sure exactly what to tell you. But, we're going to legalize this stuff, help our petition drive. Right now, the state has raised the fee for medical marijuana patients. Now they have to pay $200 to $250 each year, where it had been $100. People on food stamps had only had to pay $20, or the Oregon Health Plan. Now they have to pay $200 or $250. So what we want to do is make it where patients don't have to pay that at all.
Because I am on disability, so it's really a lot of money to come up with every year.
Exactly. So our initiative would make it legal for any adult to grow their own cannabis without a license, fee, or registration. It would also legalize the sale of seeds and starts of all strains and varieties of cannabis, so no one big corporation can take over the market. And so it also will legalize the sale of marijuana for medical patients. It'll be at farmers' cost. So adult social cannabis users will subsidize medical marijuana patients under our proposed law. As I said earlier, we're at about over 110,000 signatures right now. We need 87,000 good signatures, but because some are illegible, some are not really registered to vote when they sign, which hurts us, don't do it. Only sign the petition if you're registered to vote. Or some people sign it more than once, and those duplicates hurt us a great deal as well. Yeah. So we're looking to turn in at least 150,000 signatures. Right now we're on track to get to about 170,000. We're trying to pick up the pace and get up to 180 or 200,000 to make sure we qualify this important initiative. It'll help medical marijuana patients. It'll also restore industrial hemp for fuel, fiber, and food. In fact, 2% of the proceeds from the sale of marijuana to adults under our proposal, the Oregon Cannabis Tax Act, 2% will go to promote hemp fuel, fiber, and food products and the establishment of these new environmentally sustainable industries.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you answered my question. Thank you very much.
Yeah, remember that citation, 21
right
USC 903. In fact, if you go online and enter it into Google, the DEA, Drug Enforcement Administration's own website, will pop right up as the top source on that. You can read it right from the DEA's website.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
I think I testified the first case of that in Oregon, and what's the name of the college law school, Lewis and Clark?
There's Lewis and Clark over in southwest Portland.
Yeah. The professor in the law school and two of his grad students or whatever were the lady's defense, and what their contention was, the state of Oregon says that medical marijuana is medicine. So what's the big deal?
And the federal government says the states take precedence at 21 USC 903.
Just like I say, I think that was the first case because she was in Section 8 housing and they were trying to evict her. And this was just before a judge, not a jury, but just a judge. And the judge
I think the appellate courts ruled in favor of patients using medical marijuana in public housing. But again, you got to fight it. You got to be the squeaky wheel.
Well, if this lady is actually smoking the marijuana cigarettes, she should get herself
a vaporizer. Or eat it. Yeah, and then it won't smell at all.
Yeah.
We have a studio audience here. In fact, if you want to come down any Friday night and join in our studio audience, come right down to 2766 Northeast Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard any Friday night, and you can join us and ask a question. Go ahead, studio audience member.
Yes, sir. I've got two questions. One of them is relative to the issue about whether or not anyone can block your use. I tried to go into the Cascade Blues Festival on the waterfront one year, and I had my little hippie bag with me.
Yes.
And when we were going through, they forced me to, well, if I wanted to go in, I had to let them rifle through my bag, which they did, and they found my medical cannabis, which was edibles.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to eat any right then, but I probably would eat some while I was in because I would have a lot of pain, and I didn't want to take a bunch of pharmaceuticals. They refused to let me in. They said that the federal law still applies. I had no idea about this 21 USC 903.
Yeah, most
now,
people don't.
What if they continue? What if I'm somewhere? I mean, I know the workarounds, right? I can just go put it somewhere else. Mm-hmm. But I didn't think about that at the time, and I got humiliated in front of all these people.
I'm sorry that happened.
Yeah, I just want to know, is there what the other question is? Okay, I forgot what the other question is.
Uh-oh. Well, you can come back.
I'm so sorry. Thank you very much. But
it's okay.
If you can, I know what the other question was.
Okay.
I went to OHSU Medical Center to have some work to follow the advice of my specialist doctor to go look into getting a denervation done. And while I was there, I talked to my doctor there, who I'd worked with before. He had done a denervation on me, and while I was there, I'd mentioned to him that the state pharmacological association or whoever had rescheduled
it to Schedule 2.
And he told me that was not true.
That is true. In fact, he just doesn't know. I guess you don't take a copy of the news article and show it to him.
Well, I tried to argue. Well, not argue. I begged to differ with him, but
That's right. The State Board of Pharmacy has rescheduled medical marijuana out of Schedule 1 into Schedule 2, which gives that section of the Controlled Substance Act, 21 USC 903, even more authority. I found out about 21 USC 903 from the California Supreme Court. There were several counties in California that had sued the state attorney general for the medical marijuana law and said they didn't have to enforce it because it violated federal law. Well, the California Appeals Court and the Supreme Court ruled that because of 21 USC 903, it didn't violate that. So that's how I found out about it initially. I was reading this legal opinion from the California Court of Appeals and from the California Supreme Court. We have one more caller here before we go to a film clip. Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the show.
Oh, hi.
Howdy.
See, I'm having a problem with Kaiser.
Uh-huh.
In April, I went to the THC Foundation and I signed the papers and everything, but Kaiser apparently doesn't want to give up my paperwork to him.
Oh, no, then we can get it from them. If you just fill out a medical release form, we can go to their electronic system and get those medical records without a problem.
Well, it hasn't happened yet, and it started in April, so it's getting kind of late.
Okay. Well,
did you sign the request?
Yes, I did.
Hang on the phone, and the nice lady, my wife, will that answered the phone will take your name and number, and we'll call back and give you some help during this film clip. Okay, so stand by. We have a film clip with Dr. Todd McArea. Just like Dr. Levesque was the first doctor in Oregon to publicly go out and help medical marijuana patients, in California, the first state to pass medical marijuana law in '96, Oregon and Washington did it in '98. It was Dr. Todd McArea, and he was put together a compilation of medical journal articles back in the 70s, the Medical Marijuana Papers. Very thick book with a green cover, and published it, and really led to the renewed interest in medical marijuana and cannabis as a medicine. So here,
he and Eric Sterling were both asked, weren't they, to put together a report by President Nixon talking about the need to end marijuana.
There was a Schaefer commission, but neither one of them were on the Schaefer commission. It was Norman Zinberg was.
Well, in the interview, McArea made some kind of comment about that.
Well, let's see how this interview goes, and we can find out more. Here's the interview that Casper did here back in 1999.
Thank you for joining us today. On our program, we are blessed to have the distinguished individual, Dr. Todd McArea, come onto our show and share some interesting viewpoints and some successes that they've had in the Bay Area in California. For those of you who are not acquainted with this gentleman, he has a very impressive background. He is a psychiatrist in private practice in Oakland and Berkeley. He is a gentleman who introduced the first methadone maintenance program in Alameda County.
That's right.
and he's also a member of the California Medical Association. He's certified by the American Society of Addiction Medicine, and the California Society of Addiction Medicine is a qualified medical review officer, right?
That's right.
Kind of blew that. He's also the co-author of a very impressive landmark bill that has happened in San Francisco called Proposition P. This man's background goes beyond that, but for now, that basically covers the things that we're going to be approaching. Now, Proposition P, a lot of people have become aware of that through the press and through media coverage, and I know people becoming aware of your background recognizes that you have a lot going for you intellectually, and so that when you make a comment that we should pay attention to hemp as a medical resource for the curing of pain and relieving of pain and other diseases, it comes with a lot of impact.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. One of the problems that we had, well, we've been having problems for many years of getting access to medicinal cannabis. And once upon a time, I was in charge of marijuana research for the National Institute of Mental Health in Chevy Chase. This is back in 1967, but since that time, there's been a minimal amount of progress in getting cannabis available for medicinal use. Only recently has there been some compassionate access, and only recently have there been some grudging admissions by the scientific and medical establishment that cannabis, in fact, had therapeutic efficacy. And I feel very bitter about this because I know it to be a cover-up, since before marijuana was taken away from availability by the 1937 Tax Act, medicinal cannabis also became unavailable, deleted from the 1941 formulary and pharmacopoeia.
Now, why did that go hand in hand like that?
Because it was part of this so-called send them a signal school of propaganda and disinformation that the police had to maintain in order to continue the fictionalized killer weed, or part of reefer madness. And so saying that cannabis had medical or medicinal utility would have run contrary to their fiction that they needed to maintain in order to continue credibility and not having people question why marijuana was in fact prohibited.
Now, that's the only plant substance, drug, which is not really a drug, it's an herb, that's been treated like that. I mean, we have opium that's still available, etc., for medicinal purposes, etc., don't we? And other forms of...
That's right, even cocaine. But because of the several factors, the growing popularity and the promotion of synthetic drugs by the pharmaceutical manufacturers that started in the 1890s and went on through the 1900s and has escalated ever since with new and better, allegedly, synthetic substances. No money could be made from any patents, and they weren't interested in promoting the use of cannabis. Although Eli Lilly and Park Davis maintained a farm for developing pharmaceutical strains and pharmaceutical strength plants up until 1937.
And then they're just now disregarding all of that past evidence until now you're bringing it to light?
Well, yes, and that's, well, it's very much like living, at least in the medical world, with the depiction of the Planet of the Apes and what happened to medicine after they wanted to get rid of all these human kinds of advances in technology, and they reverted to some form of medicine that resembled something that happened in the Middle Ages or worse.
Okay, well now, see, people are able to recognize that hemp can be made into paper, fiber, and fuel, but when it comes to the idea of it being medicine, outside of smoking it, as far as relaxing, taking care of stress, etc., it's hard for them to imagine in what areas hemp can actually be utilized for. Now, you say that it helps in AIDS, as an example?
Well, okay, back to this issue of censorship, and it's being swept under the rug.
Okay.
And the importance of bringing this back to consciousness and bringing it back to the awareness of the medical community as far as a therapeutic agent. And that's why the text of the initiative or the proposition in San Francisco that I co-authored contained the term restore.
Could you take a moment and read it to our audience?
Yes.
I'd appreciate that.
Recommendation to amend the Health and Safety Code of California. 1. The people of the City and County of San Francisco recommend that the State of California and the California Medical Association restore hemp medical preparations to the list of available medicines in California. Licensed physicians shall not be penalized for or restricted from prescribing hemp preparations for medical purposes to any patient. Definition. The term hemp medical preparations means all products made from hemp, cannabis, or marijuana in all forms that are designed, intended, or used for human consumption for the treatment of any disease, the relief of pain, or for any healing purpose, including the relief of asthma, glaucoma, arthritis, anorexia, migraine, multiple sclerosis, epilepsy, nausea, stress, for use as an antibiotic and antiemetic, or as any healing agent, or as an adjunct to any medical procedure for the treatment of cancer, HIV infection, or any other medical procedure or herbal treatment. Now that is a very broad definition of medicine or medical or medicinal applications.
Yes, it is.
But the definition of hemp medical preparations is well documented in previous things like the U.S. Pharmacopoeia, and that in fact all the definitions are in place ready to go for medicinal use of crude cannabis products to be restored.
Excellent.
To the formulary.
Excellent.
And so we're in this wonderful post-passage euphoria. Dennis Perrone, the spark plug behind this, has appointed me the medical coordinator for the Committee for Compassionate Use, his organization, to get this on the ballot, and then now we're trying to figure out what do we do now. All of a sudden we become successes after all these many years having been failures and looked upon as outcasts, deviants, nuts, irresponsible, dope-smoking hippies, and other kinds of negative stereotypes that we've been stuck with, which is all part of the suppression campaign to keep cannabis, marijuana, or hemp illegal.
And see, a lot of that has to do with people of your stature being willing to come forth into the public light and make these statements, because you leave yourself wide open. I'm certain you realize that, for a variety of attacks, whether it be from government agencies or private industry.
Yes, because it's really part of a campaign to maintain these collective fictions in order to prop up these flawed policies, that they need to attempt to discredit or tarnish or kill the messenger somehow, so as to not be made to confront the actual facts and deal on a level playing field with what is in fact happening.
When we come back, I'd like to be able to go a little bit farther as to how the next step, Proposition P.
Preparation P.
Preparation P helps take care of a pain. Yes, it does. It's going to be implemented in the direction that it's going to have to go before it becomes completely successful. We'll be right back after this.
So that was from back in 1991. We'll have the other half of your interview with Dr. Todd McCurria, who is a luminary. He pushed through Proposition P, which was just for the city of San Francisco, but he and Dennis Perrone put together what became known as Proposition 215, a statewide ballot measure that won in California back in 1996.
And Dennis sat down for an interview right after Dr. McCurria did on that same day. So
we'll have those excerpts as well. I know we're slowly but surely going through your archive of 3/4-inch analog tapes and trying to put them, and our associate Michael has been working on the sound to get it back to shape, and some of those tapes are starting to fade after time, but he's been doing a lot to to restore
I don't look that
them.
much different, do I?
You haven't changed much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate noticing that.
But
time has done me well.
Dr. Todd McArea was one of the heroes of our movement. He passed away back in 2007 from brain cancer, and just before he passed away, he contacted me, and he had about 12,000 patients, medical marijuana patients, and he sold me his practice. We actually operated his office down in El Cerrito, California, right next to Berkeley, for about 6 months, and then his sister decided she wanted to come and operate, so I sold it back to her. But it was a real honor that Dr. Todd, sent out letters and allowed us to take over his practice just as he passed
I think it's interesting
away.
over the years. There's been like 6 degrees of separations for you and I, because we finally became acquainted with one another and then grand friends about 3 years ago. But yet in the last 20 years, we've operated in the same circle of people and had very intimate relationships with all of these members of the marijuana movement, Dr. Todd McArea and Jack Hare and Captain Ed. And it just took us a while for us cousins to come together in a family reunion and hang
you
out
here in Portland, and now we're making television history here.
Todd McArea was a very close friend of mine, and I believe...
And a graduate of Portland's Reed College, I might say.
And
he got his undergraduate degree from Reed.
And he invited me to the his 50th class anniversary, and I stayed with him at Reed College at that time.
And that was only about, 2006, I think it was.
Something like
that. It was less than a year before he passed away.
Something like that. And I believe that I actually talked to him the night before he died.
Mm-hmm.
I had phoned him up, and he says, Phil, he says, I'm awfully tired. He says, call me back again sometime. And the next time I heard about it, he had died. And so
it happened very quick.
Every marijuana user in the United States owes a debt to Todd McArea, which can never be repaid in any manner, shape, or form. He
really
was the number one guy.
Humble,
it's true.
Nice,
yep.
Conscientious,
yep.
courteous,
and
friendly.
Incredibly intelligent.
Very.
And he called the whole pharmaceutical industry the monomolecular mercantile madness. That's what he called it. And he knew that cannabis could take care of many of those things. If you have a question or comment for us tonight, we got about 15 minutes to go. You can call us at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288.
I have a question for Dr. Lebec.
Yes.
Go ahead.
During World War II, did any of the troops smoke this remarkable herb like they did? Vietnam, it was pretty much out in the field, wink, wink. Whereas it in World War II, did you all know about it, this wacky weed?
No, not really. But the whole thing it is that we had morphine, styrets, all the medics stuff, and the dog faces discovered the morphine, styrets, and so that's what they were using. So at the end of the war, we had a whole bunch of morphine addicts and so forth. But I don't think, from the guys from Texas and the South and so forth, they probably had their marijuana, but most of us...
Now you got your PhD from the University of Oregon Medical School, which
yes.
is now known as Oregon Health Sciences University.
That's right, yes.
And while you were there, I know you told me the story about finding huge gallon jars of cannabis in the cupboard.
Yes. When I started as a grad student at the medical school, Dr. David, the chairman of pharmacology, says, Lebec, I'd like you to go in and straighten out the stock room, whatever, just straighten it out. And the first thing I found was a gallon jug of cannabis cough medicine. And at that time, it was illegal for cannabis of any sort to be anywhere. And this was 13 years after 1937 or so, something like that.
Yeah. About 1950.
And it was manufactured by Park Davis.
Uh-huh.
And so I said, well, if Park Davis paid me to go to medical school. So I just said, if Park Davis says this stuff is good for cough medicine, it must be good. So I poured myself a pint of it like this. And it's probably out in my barn someplace, and it's probably still good.
All right. All right. That's a great story. This is an Eli Lilly container. We're going to do our little show and tell here.
Well, as long as you've been around, I figured you got high with Lincoln first. When did you first get high?
He didn't get high.
I don't use it.
You don't even use it?
No.
And you know how wonderful this is?
If if it was known that I used marijuana, every cop in the state of Oregon would be looking for me.
Oh, they're after me instead. We have a phone call. Welcome to our show, caller. Oh, we don't have a phone call. Well, guess what? We're going to do our show and tell. Here are several cannabis-based products. This one is Sunny Hemp from Nature's Path. You can pick these up at most local grocery stores. Not drug stores, but grocery stores. And so they're nifty little hemp bars. Next door, we have Emerald Empire Hemp Munch toasted hemp seeds. Emerald, the hemp company of America, is based right here in wonderful Oregon, and it's a tasty snack. Right next door, we have a hemp tea product. I used to drink these in Switzerland back in the late 90s, and marijuana was actually legal in Switzerland from 1997 to 2002 when an initiative made the ballot in Switzerland. Switzerland invented the initiative process. It went into effect from 97, was voted down 52 to 48% in 2002. The United States DEA spent about $10 million to defeat it. That's in a country of 4 million Swiss voters. So our federal government went in there. The Drug Enforcement Administration spent $10 million to make sure the Swiss hemp bill lost, and it did.
I feel safer.
So, yeah. And so next door we have a embossed bottle of Dr. Craddock's Cannabis Indica. I don't know if you can see it on there. Well, you guys with the HD TV, you probably, oh yeah, there it is.
Nice,
Cannabis
nice.
Indica
Nice.
from Dr. Craddock of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Right next door, we have a full bottle, speaking of cough syrup, of Linden's Cough Balsam. And it is, it's got about a dozen different languages on it. It's
Mostly Polish.
most Polish and Eastern European languages. Right next door, we have a, what is this? This is the glycerophosphates compound with lecithin, a reconstructive tonic and nerve food. And the number one ingredient is Cannabis Indica.
Nice, nice.
And then here we have two bottles. There's one still in the box that's unopened, and I'm not going to open that because it's a lot more valuable. And this one just has some residue inside. This is the Lloyd Brothers Cannabis Extract. So that's another nifty thing that shows its medical utility. And last but not least, we have Eli Lilly's pint bottle, fluid extract number 96. They had about a dozen different cannabis compounds, including powdered hashish and fluid extracts and tinctures, and then they mixed it just like this other one, the glyphosate nervine. They mixed it with several other things, so it wasn't uncommon to find these nerve potions that included cannabis. And so there it is from Eli Lilly.
Cool.
It's kind of worn. I have some better examples of this, but this is the one we got on the show tonight.
Makes you wonder if they had cannabis in Love Potion number 9.
I never thought of that.
There were some 38 or so cannabis products on the market up until 1937.
I have about 200, including Johnson & Johnson and Park Davis. Last week we had a box from Park Davis that listed all these different medical conditions, and the very last one said it was an aphrodisiac.
Nice.
The cannabis was an
Well,
aphrodisiac. That's from Park Davis. So
That'll
it'd have
sell
to be
anything.
true. We have another film clip. We'll be back in
Watch your
just
heart.
a moment.
Watch your heart.
Hi, I'm Willie Nelson, and I urge you to support the Oregon Cannabis Tax Act to regulate marijuana and restore industrial hemp. This initiative will end adult marijuana prohibition and let our criminal justice officers focus limited resources on real criminals and not on marijuana users like me. OCTA will also allow farmers to grow hemp for fuel, fiber, and food, to create jobs and help our economy. Please support OCTA. Thank you.
Thank you, Willie. We appreciate it. We hope you will support OCTA. Right now, we're at about 110,000 signatures. We need to turn in 87,000 valid registered Oregon voter signatures. So we're working on a buffer to cover the invalid signatures, people who sign the petition and aren't really registered to vote. We only want Oregon registered voters to sign this petition. The illegible signatures are the duplicates. So please go to our website. You can actually print out a petition right at home and sign it and mail it in to us, or bring it to our office there on Northeast Sandy, that address there below. Or you can mail it to our office. And if you want to come into our office and pick up petitions, or you want a job collecting signatures until just after the 4th of July, give us a call at 503-235-4606. We have a caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Good evening, gentlemen. How much money was that you just said, Paul, that our DEA spent in Switzerland to defeat their already their legalized marijuana?
It was a legalization initiative. It's called DROLEG, and the DEA spent $10 million in a country of 4 million voters to help fund the drive to defeat DROLEG in Switzerland in the vote in 2002.
How did they get the authorization to spend my tax money and your tax money and everybody else's tax money in this country to fiddle around with the internal politics of another country that's supposed to be neutral of all things?
It is a horrible thing. You know, there's laws here in this country that say that non-elected public officials can't use public money or public time to work on political issues. And so I don't know how they did it, but that's what they did. It's really a shame.
I would like to get somebody like maybe a Bernie Sanders or somebody else that's smart and independent that could maybe trace this back and maybe see if it isn't just the Secret Service that does overseas blunders. Maybe we could smack the DEA.
I think our whole foreign policy, especially when it comes to regard of stationing our soldiers all over the world, is a blunder myself. No less the DEA in every country and the CIA in every country. And you know, we've got to, in my opinion, restructure the government. But first, we're going to try to legalize cannabis.
Well, the CIA, I mean, they're in a lot of just about every news media. And I was listening to Bill Olson on the last 9/11 was an inside job.
Yeah.
And he was telling the story of how his, I think his father was, he spent a year over, I think, in the Middle East too, when he was a young boy. But his father was working on his doctorate thesis, if I remember correctly. And that was, I can't remember which university he was connected with, but the Ford Foundation wanted all of his notes and his audio recordings, and he wouldn't give it to him, and found out that the Ford Foundation is basically just the financial arm of the CIA, which should stand for criminally insane a-holes, since they are the same people
I can agree with you.
They gave LSD.
You know, I believe a lot of these conspiracy theories myself. I think the CIA are the ones that run this country and have since November 22nd, 1963, when there was a military coup in Dallas. But
and the way the Secret Service is operating now, I think their favorite TV show was T.J. Hooker.
Anyway, but thanks for your call and bringing up those points.
The fact that they gave LSD to orphan children
yeah, their COINTELPRO program were using LSD to try to come up with the mind control and truth serum drug. Very good points there. Thanks for your call. We are about out of time. We're down to about 3.5 minutes to go. You want to say something in closing here, Casper?
Please make it a point to get involved here in Oregon to help change the law. If you haven't signed the Octon Initiative, make it a point to do so. Get out there and let your neighbors know that we can make a difference right here in Oregon. All you got to do is get up, get active, and get involved.
Dr. Levesque, you want to tell them where they can read all your stories on Salem News?
All you got to do is punch up Philip Levesque on Google, and that will put you into 400 of my stories on salemnews.com.
Punch up.
And
So I'll punch up.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, you know what I mean, don't you? Yeah. Yes, righto. And actually, one of my latest articles is about Dwight Holton, who was running for Attorney General.
And, he lost big time.
He lost big time, but the people who were supporting him, every newspaper in Oregon
All the DAs,
some 21
all the sheriffs.
Organizations, 25 sheriff's departments.
But the people did not.
33 district attorneys, 26 elected officials, 20.
And he lost with only 36% of the vote?
Yes.
So that's a good thing.
Yes.
So go to Salem News, look on Google for Philip Levesque. I also want to say, in closing, that this week we saw a new Rasmussen poll that said that support nationally for legalizing marijuana is now at 56%. That's up 6% since the Gallup poll last October, where it was at 50%, which was the highest point. But now Rasmussen, just last week, said that we've got 56% support. Our polls show that the Oregon Cannabis Tax Act can win with 62%. So help us make the ballot. Go to cannabistaxact.org or call us at 503-235-4606. We're going to go out on a wonderful song from Casper's Show by John Cornett and Jan Sue Hurst. Thank you, folks. Thanks for watching, and tune in next week and help us restore hemp.
Actually, we're going to do a little blues tune here, Jan Sue.
Oh, okay.
We'll get
Sorry.
that over next time.
Yeah. Dust my broom. Woke up this morning, believe I'm gonna dust my broom. Woke up this morning, believe I'm gonna dust my broom. Las Vegas, I'm loving, now my friends can have my room. I'm gonna write a letter, telephone every town I know. Write a letter, telephone every time I know. He's a no good cool cat, shouldn't be left out alone.